A warm welcome. Claire, what grade are you in?
Right now I'm in 4th, but I'm soon gonna be in 5th.
That's good. I'm glad you know the future. That's perfect. Now, why are you excited to be here tonight?
Because I'm just excited.
Yeah. No other explanation. Now, I do believe, tell me the truth. Is it true that your dad has a ringside seat, but didn't get you guys ringside seats?
That is true, but it's because of his YouTube channel, okay? It's his YouTube, okay?
Her dad's an influencer. Let him go, guys. But your dad's awesome, right?
Yeah.
See, he's awesome. Yeah! Give it up for Claire. Thank you so much, Claire. High five. Yeah!
Can you believe that there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast? Shame on you! Shame on you! My name is Ella Envy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion. And I'm Kinsey Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion. And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called again? Podcast, period. Or you're ugly. Pretty and power approved.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, the United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance Vlog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby. Officially the longest intro in all of podcasting. What is up, bad dude Tito? I'm Jay Cal.
What's up?
We are this is the Sessions with Jay Cal, where we just talk, man. Just two dudes talking about wrestling. You got the bad dude and you got the dad dude. I don't know. We'll have to work on that. But welcome to the show, man. How you been?
Good, bro. I've been great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who are watching this podcast who are unfamiliar with Tito, like, first of all, you've been living in a shell or what? Secondly, like, you're a guy that I've been wanting to have on this podcast for quite some time. You're basically have become the SoCal legend. And I don't use that term loosely. I don't mean to just throw it around, but you've been around for a long time, and people, it still baffles my mind that people are still sleeping on you, dude. Like, do you ever feel that way?
Yeah, man. Tell me about it. Pretty much every time I leave the state, I feel that way. I'm like, are people going to know me? Are they going to know who I am? You know, but slowly but surely, I'm kind of making my way to the top, being more of a household name. So we'll see. We're getting there.
Well, that's awesome, man. You know, in God, 2022 must have been a banner year for you. I mean, so much traveling, bro. You did a lot of things that most people don't ever get a chance to do. Like, between, you know, obviously working for the United Wrestling Network, doing a lot of the shows in SoCal, like Epic Pro Wrestling and Santino's and MPW and stuff like that. I mean, you're literally working with New Japan Strong. You get that call. You're in New Japan. You're in Japan, for crying out loud. Yeah. You're part of TMDK, which is, you know, in and of itself, that's pretty awesome. Those dudes have always been badass, but you're part of that. You're going to the UK to wrestle. I mean, damn, dude, tell me about that experience.
Oh man, I had a crazy year, probably the best year of my career. I've been wrestling for like 18 years now, and this was by far my biggest breakthrough year I've had in my career. And it all started with New Japan Strong. You know, I started working with Strong in December of 2001, and not really knowing what was going to happen. And
2021.
Yeah,
You
2021. I'm sorry.
you said
Oh, I'm sorry.
2001.
Yeah, I always do that. But yeah, 2021. And I wasn't really sure what was going to happen with that. I knew that I had a match in November, and I knew I had a match in December and a match in January. So I just was going to go out there and try to have killer matches and see where it went. Fortunately for me, it kind of skyrocketed. The right eyes were on me at the right time. And from then, it was just like a whirlwind of adventure. It was like we went to Seattle, we went to Philly, we went to DC. In DC is when I found out I was going to go to Japan. So that was pretty amazing. And then in DC was when I got actually like introduced into TMDK, where they actually put me in the stable.
I was wondering that
was a big day.
I know you were partnering with Shane Haste. You had partnered with Jonah for a while too, but that was the official date was in Washington D.C. That's when you got. Did they jump you in? Did they rush you in?
Yeah.
What did those Aussies do to you, man?
It was a drinking game. You just have to last drinking beer with them, which was very, very hard. But luckily for me, I'm a bad dude. I've been training for this my whole life, so I was able to keep up with them.
That's awesome, man. And you're the first Mexican American in TMDK, man.
Yeah, I am. I'm the first non-Australian.
Yeah, I wasn't entirely sure about that because I wasn't sure if Jonah was Australian or if he was New Zealand, but okay.
Yeah, he's Australian.
All right. So cool, man. So look at you breaking barriers internationally.
Yeah, look at that.
You're a role model. Check that out.
Uh-oh. I'm like Charles Barkley, man. I'm not a role model.
There was a famous quote that Charles Barkley said once, somebody else said about Charles Barkley saying that I wouldn't let my dog emulate you, let alone my child. And I thought that was pretty fitting. Right. But bad dude, you're not necessarily a bad dude. I've always kind of found you out to be kind of a good dude, man. You've been, like I said, in the area for a very long time, wrestling in Southern California. A lot of people, there's a misconception. A lot of people think you were like a Santino student, but you weren't really a student, right? You kind of helped coach the first couple of classes, right?
Well, I had started wrestling in like 2000, and then I had took some time off, probably like 5-6 years off. So I was already trained. I already had like maybe 100+ matches under my belt, and but when I was looking to come back in, that's where I started to train. So then I took it upon myself to start from the beginning again, start with the beginners class, just to get all the rust off. And then soon I just kind of skyrocketed to the advanced class. And maybe within like 2 months, I was getting bookings already. So I definitely call myself a Santino student.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. But lately, maybe this last year, I'd show up to class and coach some classes, help out the young guys and the guys who had just advanced to the advanced class, getting ready to get out on the scene for sure.
And I don't mean that as a disrespectful way either, because I just knew that you had spent time like in Battleground Pro and working some of those dates before. So I guess I was misconstrued that. I thought that you were part of that original coaching class.
So when their Battleground was going on, they were training on the weekends at Santino's. They had their own class. So that's how I met Mongo and Santino, and they were like, hey, come train with us. And I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, let's do this.
And not breaking too much kayfabe, but you grew up in Whittier, California, right?
Yeah, born and raised. Whittier are prettier.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, that's what
my ex-wife was from Whittier, so I don't necessarily abide by that. But
there's always a few that get that don't count for.
Did you go to Lucerna?
I did go to Lucerna. Yeah,
damn.
I went to Lucerna sophomore, junior, and senior year.
Was that class of what, like 2000?
01.
01. Class of 97 at Mayfair High School in Lakewood.
Okay.
We played Lucerna. That's why I knew that. I knew that school.
My son actually goes there now, so that's kind of cool.
Generational, man.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Why am I blanking on his name? The Neon Phenomenon, EWF heavyweight champion. Oh, what's his name?
Idol. He went to college at Whittier College.
He went to Whittier College. He's a fighting poet.
Yeah, I did know that. I'm good friends with Idol, so.
Idol's a great dude, man.
Yeah, I love him. He's great.
I think Idol's one of those guys similar to you that just needs that breakout year. I mean, you obviously you had that breakout year in 2022,
Mhm.
but you've also you put in the work too, like Idol as well. But I mean, I'm sitting here looking at pictures. I've been photographing you for like I guess like close to 16 years now, man. You
Oh,
said
it's
you
kind
said
of
you've been in the
creepy.
business for 20 or for 18 years.
Yeah,
At
18
least
years.
at least 13 years I've been photographing you
Yeah.
from AWS where you and Rico were
Rico.
doing the Young Bucks pose. Do you remember that?
Yeah, because I think at the time we were trying to get a match with the Young Bucks because
Oh,
we actually ended up wrestling them for Bart one show. It was like a joint show. It was like half AWS, half some lucha random card in the middle of nowhere that no one saw. But it was fun.
Bart had a way, like I know he kind of fell out of flavor with social media and stuff, but Bart had a way of putting on some really wild matches back in the day.
Oh man, his cards were crazy. It was
Yeah.
like 10 match cards. They go for like 4 hours. But the crowd was always wild there. I always liked working AWS. That was
Did,
actually one of my goals when I came back. Was like, if I could get on this show, then I think I'll blow up in SoCal.
he's definitely one of those guys that I think if when he had those shows, I think he really carried a lot of SoCal in those leaner years, man. And people don't
Uh,
want to give him his flowers because of everything else, but like I look at the general whole, and I mean like he really brought a lot of different variety of wrestling to SoCal that
oh yeah,
I
he
don't think
did.
we would have seen otherwise.
He was one of the first promoters to put on a lot of female matches, women's matches, and then
Yeah.
he'd bring in the luchadors. He had like these crazy hardcore matches. He had a lot of cruiserweights. He had a huge variety, and if you look at those shows from back then, a lot of those guys blew up, man. A lot of those guys that were wrestling there are wrestling on TV now
Yeah.
or international. So
That's
props
that's
to Bart.
that's yeah. Props to Bart. Um, but you've worked everywhere in SoCal. Like we just said AWS, but I mean,
Yeah,
I could think. I know that you were on the shows with FCW. You were on the shows. You and Che held the EWF tag team titles not
yeah,
too long ago.
yeah. We were SoCal Pro Tag title, had the titles there. We worked for Dave at United. Recently, I just worked at PCW. Been working Rival. I did Epic. I pretty much worked all the shows out here, pretty much.
When it's all said and done, Teach, you should get like some sort of award for being like the SoCal wrestler everywhere guy because you legitimately have wrestled everywhere, and it's. I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of cool because you could say like, "Hey, I know what's good. I know what's not good because I've been there."
Yeah.
But do you ever feel like that might have cheapened the brand a little bit because everyone could see you
Uh,
everywhere?
yeah, there's times where I'm like, I'll be in the locker room. I'll be honest. I'll be in the locker room somewhere and I'll look around and I'm like, what the hell am I even doing here? I don't like, I'm above this, and I don't want to sound like a prick or sound cocky, but like, that's the gist of it. It's like I'm in the locker room with a bunch of scrubs who probably shouldn't even be in the locker room. They should probably buy a ticket to get into the show. But I'm like, well, I do this for a living, so the bills have to get paid. So
That's
I
true.
do lots of shows. I do a lot. If I could wrestle every weekend, then I will because this is my livelihood and that's what I need to do. I mean, obviously, I would love to work the top tier shows, but those aren't always possible.
And they're not always available too. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a
there's
promotion.
only so many matches and so many spots on cards, and you can't get all of them all the time.
I mean, there's a promotion in Southern California everyone knows about it called Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. And
Yeah,
I mean, they put on banger after banger after banger,
right. Yeah,
but there seems to be like a reluctance to use local SoCal talent. And I'm like, man, I don't know why, because there's guys like you and Danny Limelight and there's a handful of other guys who I think would work perfectly in that style. And it
hmm
just never happens. What's your take on that?
I think recently they have been using a lot more local guys.
Okay,
They've been using Shane Hayes. They've been using Blackwood.
that's true.
Uh, they brought like Titus from NorCal, so You know, it all just depends, who talks to who and if your name gets thrown out, if there's a spot for you available. And there's so many variables that go into that. But I'd be open to doing that. I've been wanting to work there forever. So, and I think right now with my confidence and my in-ring style, and I think I'd fit right in. I think I'd tear the house down. Honestly, I've been tearing the house down everywhere I go lately.
Did you ever get to work the Lucha Vavoom shows?
No, but we almost did this last October. We were like this close from doing it, and they were like, sorry. Like the week of, they're like, we can't do this.
What they don't think you can't do Lucha Libre? Come on now.
No, I don't know what went into it, but it was just like, sorry guys.
Well, they might put you in a mask and give you a different name, and
yeah, who knows? Yeah, they might do that.
I have a photo on my computer. I want to put on the screen here, and I was trying to, when I was making the flyer for this podcast, I was looking at, again, I've been photographing you for so long, and even before me, it was my wife was photographing you guys, you and Rico. And here's a photo from back in the old theater, the Showcase Theater.
Showcase?
Yeah. And that's a very young Tito with Rico, and you guys were the Hollywood Heritage titles, belts that have been retired since, feuding with the Tribe and Pretty Peter and Ray. I mean, some things never change, man. But tell me about that era for you when you were, Silvio would take you guys out to the rings, Los Bandidos. I mean, you guys had a great act. You guys were hot. You had taken the belts off of the Tribe. Tell me about that time for you in your career.
Yeah, I think it was around 2012. At the time, a lot of tag teams have just left Championship Hollywood. So me and Reeks were singles at the time. We were actually feuding at another company, and we're like, man, we should just pitch an idea of us teaming, and I bet we could do pretty good. We could get a good run because they didn't have many tag teams. Like 3 or 4 tag teams had just left. So we talked to Dave, and he's like, yeah, sure, come on in. And right away, they gave us a push. We started feuding with the Tribe, which I think at the time had held the titles for like 18 months, maybe even longer. It was like a long time. But, Rico took me under his wing because I was still pretty young. Taught me a lot, actually. I owe Rico a lot of credit for helping me out back then. And we got to wrestle the Tribe and had some crazy physical matches. And I remember thinking, like, oh, these dudes don't know what's going to hit them. Like, because, like, they were just eating up everybody. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to just let them take my lunch money,
Yeah.
If anything, I'm going to try to take theirs. And they were game for it. They love that style, too. So it was more of a physical brawl fight than a wrestling match, that's for sure.
And I mean, and I'm not trying to give away the soup, but I remember, like, even at Primetime Live, the first episode in the Long Beach, the what was it, the Thunder Studios. I mean, that night was pretty crazy, and you guys just went all out. And it was funny because I actually started to do the podcast live there, and you and Che walked in, and you're like, "Hey, what's up?" I was like, "Hey, man, I'm doing the podcast." You're like, "For the Alliance blog?" And I popped, and a few people in the chat at the time were like, "Dang, that's cool, man. Have him come on." I'm like, "Dude, he's getting ready for the show, man. I ain't gonna bother him." But you guys went to town that night too, and in every match you guys had was really hard hitting.
Yeah, if you're gonna if you're doing a match with the Tribe, it's gonna be physical. It's gonna be a fight. There's not gonna be too many wrestling holds. Be prepared for a fight. Bring your A game, and you can't back down against those guys because they're just gonna keep pouring it on. So, and I'm the same way. Like, if you give me an inch, I'm gonna take a mile. I mean, I'm just gonna keep taking until you fight back. And if you don't, well, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you don't fight back, then I'm gonna take your lunch money.
I've seen you post videos of Bam Bam, Terry Gordy, and Dr. Death. Is that where you're like? Is that your wheelhouse? Is that your inspiration?
I think
as a wrestler?
Yeah, for sure. Especially since I've gotten bigger in size and strength in the last couple of years. I've always liked those guys, but I was just maybe a little too small to work that style. And If I wrestle someone smaller, of course I'd do that. But now I'm like 250 pounds right now. That's right up my wheelhouse. I love that strong style. I love that physical style. And that was one of the things I think that helped me get over in Japan. One
Yeah.
of the things that got me sent to Japan was definitely that style. And you know, I like to switch it up too. You know, I'll throw in some athleticism because I'm pretty athletic too. So I like to give a little bit of everything when I'm in the ring.
I grew up a Steiner's fan, right? I
I love the
love Rick
Steiners.
and Scott. You never liked them?
Yeah. No, I do. I love them.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
grew up a huge Scott and Rick fan. I love those guys, especially when they were the tag team champions.
Mhm.
And I was brokenhearted the day that Dr. Death and Bam Bam came in and just took the belts off of them. And like that match was so brutal. I mean, it was on I think it was on like a Saturday night too. I don't think it was even a pay-per-view. It was just intense. And my brother was always a Dr. Death's fan, so he was just like, eh. And I'm like, nah, man, that's Rick, that's Scott, bro. That's not cool. But they were awesome. And you go
You
watch
know,
their stuff in New Japan, and it was just crazy.
oh yeah. I probably watch that match, the New Japan match, like once a year, twice a year, just because I love it so much. It's one of my favorites. But
So
yeah,
then,
I love that style, that hard hitting, strong style, because I could take it and I could dish it out, but we're gonna test someone's heart and see if they could take it. You know,
so is
oftentimes they can't.
is that when you got into wrestling? Like, was that the goal? Is you wanted to be like a Dr. Death or a Bam Bam Terry
So
Gordy?
no, not at all. Because when I first started wrestling, I was under 100 pounds. I mean, under 200
I
pounds.
was
I
gonna
was
say,
probably
man,
like, yeah, I know. I
that's a
was
very
probably
small.
like, I was probably like 180. So that style, I liked it. It was cool. But then also at the time, I hadn't seen much wrestling in Japan. I'd known about it. I had
Right.
known about wrestling in Japan. But like, where's a 15-year-old kid gonna watch that? Like at the time, you couldn't really watch it on the internet. It was all about tape trading.
It's
So if
it's
you
funny because
wanted to,
people they don't realize that there was a time that YouTube didn't exist and you couldn't
yep,
just type in your favorite wrestler. You wanted to see
yeah,
a Brian Kendrick match in Music City Wrestling, man. You had to get some tapes and trade them.
yeah, and that's where Bart came in also because I used to buy a lot of tapes from Bart, and then the tape trading was huge. That's where I learned a lot about Japanese wrestling. Was through that we'd train all day, and then we'd go get food, come back to someone's house, and watch these grainy, like dubbed, like 3 times dubbed over matches. It was like you could hardly see what was going on sometimes. Sometimes you'd get a really good one, but most of the times they're super grainy, and you just had to squint to watch the whole show.
Do
But
do you remember from SoCal Uncensored a guy named Scrub?
no, I don't.
Oh, that dude was way into tape trading, and he was the guy that he kind of facilitated some of my tapes. So I was wondering if maybe you ever
No.
traded tapes with that guy.
Yeah, usually most of the tape trading was done with like other wrestlers or fans,
Oh, okay,
maybe.
okay,
Yeah, but like you could like get your tape and it was really good and like make a double of it and then
yeah,
give them the double, but the double wasn't as good. And then oftentimes you got a dub, or a dub of a dub, and it was just
right.
all
And
it was
and that's
tough.
when
You
it
had to
became very
really
pixelated and
yeah,
very hard to watch.
you had to really like wrestling to watch those.
You're like, I think that was a drop kick, or maybe that was
Yeah.
a clothesline. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there'd just be like bars going through the middle of the yeah,
Yeah.
it was bad. But it was also really cool. I always liked that.
Well, and I think like you said, like you really had to like wrestling to watch that.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
for
I
sure.
remember I was talking to a guy a few years ago for the old NWA Wild Side. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but that's where like AJ Styles came out of, and they were
Oh
one of the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
first. They're one of the first wrestling promotions that kind of have like an online presence, and we're talking like in like 2099,
Mhm.
and you'd watch the shows on like your 56K modem, and it was bad. And like I told someone today, like, "Oh, I would have watched that show if it was today, like because the quality was
Right,
so harsh.
right.
They're
We got
spoiled,
it
but
easy today. We got like everything's on demand. You can't find it on there. You go on YouTube. You can't find it on YouTube. There's Daily Motion. There's
yeah,
like you could subscribe to almost anything. Like everything's at your fingertips.
it's amazing.
Yeah, I
That's
love it.
that's I kind of I both love it and hate it because it just not that I'm a gatekeeper or anything, but it just gives so much access to people who maybe don't deserve it. But then at the same time, it's like wrestling's for everyone, so just let them enjoy it. You know,
yeah. These young kids,
I'm on both
these
sides
young
here.
kids, these young kids don't know how easy they got it. That's for sure.
We had to walk up a mile in snow to go to
Yeah.
our wrestling shows. You know,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just to get a grainy tape to watch.
Did you? Now you said you started tape trading when you were 15. Were you going to indie shows when you were 15, or did you?
I was like 15, 16 when I started wrestling, like training.
Oh
So I
wow!
would get these tapes from a bar, and like we'd bring them, and then it'd be like, well, who has, ROH? Okay, well, I have this All Japan. So we would trade within like the trainees, or and then maybe like someone knew someone and they'd come to tape trade after the show or whatever. So it was pretty cool. I always dug that. But then there was stuff like, you're like, man, I don't want to get rid of this. I love this too much. But I have not seen this other thing, So
Did you do any like high spots like back in the day? You could do like custom tapes where you would not custom
no.
matches, but you could like, I want this match and I want this match and I want this match.
No, I didn't know about that.
Dude, I had Samoa Joe in 01. So like I got to see him wrestle Taka Michinoku and a couple other guys. And I just loved it. I'm still a huge Samoa Joe fan.
Yeah, me too, so much.
But his stuff in 01 was so like, this is like before his Ring of Honor success, like I think one of them bred the other.
Yeah.
And, I used to love that stuff. So now this is a question that I've always wondered about this, because you've had a lot of success lately as a singles wrestler, but you're still getting a lot of success as a tag team wrestler. And you've had multiple incarnations of tag teams. I mean, obviously the Wolf Zaddies were kind of like your bread and butter for most of last year and 2021. You and Che as a tag team have always been phenomenal. Like I said, EWF tag team champions, rival. I think you guys are currently the rival champions too, right?
Yeah, right now.
And but then going back a few more years, you and Rico as Los Bandidos, you guys tear it up too, and you guys had a lot of great matches as well. But now you're teaming with, or you were teaming with Jonah before he went back to the WWE. Now you're teaming with Shane Haste in a lot of matches in New Japan Pro Wrestling, New Japan Strong. Which tag team has been your favorite?
Oh, bro, you're like asking me to pick my favorite kid right now. I love working with Che. That's like my best friend, that's my brother. So I always have a great time with him. If I can't think of something, I'll just ask him, hey, what should I do here? But that's true with the other three guys too.
Yeah.
So I'm always going to my partner to look, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But I would say it's probably Che. I talk to Che every day. I love, like, it's so much fun to be around him. We have the same sense of humor. We like the same stuff. We've known each other for 10 plus years. So I think Che's my favorite.
If you could bring him to New Japan, would you?
In a heartbeat.
He's
been working Strong. He has about 3 matches in Strong. He's been doing very well. So I think eventually maybe there's a chance of us teaming
there. This match in particular is one that I watched very carefully because I'm an NWA honk over here. I'm a huge NWA fan. You had an opportunity to challenge for the 10 pounds of gold. That's not something that everybody gets an opportunity for. You were basically the ace of championship wrestling from Hollywood at this time, having been the heritage champion for a pretty long time yourself. And you stepped in the ring with Nick Aldis, who was the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. A lot of people give him the respect and the flowers and say that he's the guy that brought the NWA back to the mainstream, if you will. What did you think about that match? How did you feel about getting that opportunity? And did it mean as much to you as it did to like us fans who got to watch you wrestle him?
Oh, it definitely meant a lot to me because I know what the NWA is. I know what the NWA stands for. I've been watching wrestling since I was 3 years old.
Okay.
4 years old.
Yeah.
So, I definitely know the heritage of the NWA, and I still have a lot of respect for Nick Aldis. He is a true professional. He looks the part, he acts the part, he talks the part. So going into that, I was a little nervous, but super excited, that I have this opportunity to wrestle for the NWA title. That's a big deal to me.
Yeah.
This should be a big deal to everybody in wrestling. So I was pumped for that. I definitely was gonna take it to him just because he was the NWA champ doesn't mean I was gonna take it easy on him. So in my head, I was just gonna go do what I do and let the cards fall and see what happens at the end of the match.
Did he give you any positive praise or criticism after that?
Oh
match?
yeah, he did. He put me over on Twitter, which I don't think he does very often. In fact,
I don't know. He blocked me.
in fact, I think like a month or two before, he had just buried someone on Twitter. So I was like, that was like another thing I was worried about. But I had a great match with them. I've seen him once since the match, and we had a great conversation. I get along with him fine. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I like him. It was good to me. I don't know what happens with everybody else. So, but
I mean,
I think I earned his respect for sure.
That, and you should, like you did, man. That match was killer, and it was. I'm not gonna say that was a breakthrough match for you because it was just another day at the office. You're a great wrestler, and I feel like you don't get your flowers. I don't feel like you get your just desserts, but you should earn his respect because you're a damn good wrestler, man. And my problems with Nick Aldis are stupid. Like, it's so trivial, but like, I've always put over that he, number one, is a phenomenal athlete. He looks the part. He sounds like the part. I mean, damn, his wife is Mickey James. He won already. You know what I mean? Like, that guy's good. He's already good. But yeah, I mean, he did a lot to carry that 10 pounds of gold to make the NWA very prestigious again. And
I 100% agree with you on that. Yeah, for sure.
I still think Scrap Iron Adam Pearce was a better world champion overall, but that's another conversation for another time.
Scrap Iron's a badass, bro. Like,
I know.
I would like to see those two go at it. I don't know if they have. Have they?
They never have, and I've I still kind of keep in contact with Adam, and I've messaged him, and I'm like, man, I wish you were still wrestling. He's like, fuck that, and I'm like, no, man, if you were still wrestling, that would be a money match for the NWA. He's like, nobody cares. I'm like, nah, I don't think so, man.
He's got a good spot right now. I'm thinking he's trying to take bumps anymore.
That bump card is he's still got at least one left on there. I know that.
I never really got to work matches with Adam, but I got to work with him backstage a little bit with some promos and stuff, and I always enjoyed working with him. He was fantastic.
I'm going to tell you the story, but I'm going to leave the name out of it because it was and it's somebody I really respect too, but it was a babyface who was supposed to be cutting a promo, and Adam is sitting there in the back, and Percy Pringle's there, and there's the whole office is there, and Adam goes, stop, you sound like a whiny bitch, like why are the fans gonna cheer for you? You sound like a whiny bitch. You're not making me believe you're making me want you to lose. I was like, whoa. And that was like the first time I ever got to see that side of Adam Pearce, the producer, and I thought that was really cool. Did he help you? Did he coach you on your promos and stuff then too?
He would give me like little tidbits here and there, to help me out in the ring or in my promos. But overall, he kind of just would be like, just keep doing what you're doing, bro. Like, you're doing great. And I always had a lot of respect for him. I think he had a lot of respect for me. We both liked that old school look and that old school style. So we got along great. I like Adam a lot. He's a really funny guy too.
Yeah. And it makes sense because you kind of, like, you came up, like you said, your second go around with Santino's, and I had one time a wrestling promoter in SoCal tell me that he didn't want to use you guys because he thought you guys were a gang. I'm like, come on, man.
Come on, dude. Like some Mark stuff right there. Don't believe the gimmick, brother.
Yeah, well, I mean, they ended up using you later, but we won't talk about that. But I mean, you guys grew up kind of. I say grew up, but you were trained in that old school mentality. Joey really took it to you guys, and it wasn't. It was pretty tough, right?
I mean, I got my ass kicked more times than not. Just training.
Yeah,
like, it was rough. It was tough. Like, physically, mentally, the warm ups were tough. Like, we would do a warm up at the dojo and be blown up, and then I could go train somewhere else and be like, oh, that's your warm up. Like, when are we gonna get started? Like, it was tough, especially in the early days. It would be like 500 squats, 100, 200 push-ups, up downs. Then we get in the ring and just like freestyle, and then have matches, and then at the end we'd shoot fight. It was wild, man. It was Wild West.
Did you have a background like in high school wrestling?
No, I didn't. But when I went back to Santino's, I was studying judo at the time.
Okay.
So I've always been a pretty scrappy dude, pretty good, like with my hands, but pretty good wrestling for never ever wrestling. Like I started training jiu-jitsu about 6 years ago, and everyone's like, "Oh, did you wrestle in high school?" I was like, "Nope, never wrestled in high school."
So,
and like I even had a chance to train with Barnett, Josh Barnett, and he's like, "Oh, you got a good double leg. Like, did you wrestle in high school?" I was like, "Nope, never wrestled in high school." I'm able to like watch stuff and like pick it up pretty easily.
Like muscle memory, like you just see it and you're able to recreate it.
Yeah, which is great for me, but makes me a really bad coach because then I'm like, just do it. Do I can't do it? Yeah, I just double leg. Like, this is what you do. Now do it. Like, but
like you and Kobe, man, you guys can't be out there coaching, man. You got to be you got to be the stars. You can't coach.
I love me some Kobe. That's my man.
Kobe was amazing, man, but like I don't think he could coach because he was gifted,
No,
he was natural.
Totally agree.
Same thing with Magic. Magic was phenomenal on the court, but he couldn't tell somebody how to be phenomenal on the court.
And then also, like, you hold yourself to such a high standard,
right?
Holding yourself to that, like, so now I'm gonna expect everybody who's not as talented as me to that same standard, and some people just can't do it.
That's why I would have made an awesome coach because I sucked very bad at wrestling.
No,
I wrestled in high school all 4 years, and I didn't make varsity till my senior year. And even then, like everyone in my weight class went to CIF. That's the big tournament at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And a couple of the guys on our team went to state, and I was like, "Fuck, man." So back then when I was like 165 pounds, I was wrestling guys who weighed like 170, 180, just because that's where we slotted in the weight class. So
I wish I would have wrestled in high school, but at the time, like, I didn't want to wear the singlet. I thought that was weird. And then like all my football buddies who went to wrestling, they're like, "Oh yeah, we have to starve ourselves. I could only have lettuce tonight." And I'm like, what? I like to eat, man. I'm not gonna have lettuce. And then like everyone had ringworm too. So I'm like, this is not for me. I do not want to do this.
I was lucky to avoid the ringworm, but my sophomore year, I had like 3 viral infections because I didn't clean the mats, and I was out for 2 months.
So gross.
It was pretty gnarly.
There was like one guy who had like this gnarly one on his chin, and he's like, "Yeah, I just rub it in people's faces." I'm like, "You guys are disgusting, dude. Like, why does anyone want to wrestle? It's gross."
Dude, they would at the tournaments I went to, they wouldn't let a guy wrestle who had ringworm coming out of his chin.
Yeah, they were training like that for sure.
Oh man, that's brutal.
Like, I'm gonna just stick to football and baseball. We're good.
What position did you play in football?
Linebacker and tight end.
Fucking knew it. I knew it.
I got really good hands. I could catch a football like it's ridiculous. I'm pretty good at football.
And did they ever have you play fullback?
I did a little bit, but I don't like it as much.
I look at you and I'm not trying to be insulting or anything, but I remember when you were starting out, I remember the kid that looked like more like this, and even then that was, you were still already around, but I could see that guy being a fullback and just crushing people right through the chute,
When I was playing football, I was only like 180 pounds, but I had no fear. They're like, fill this hole when it opens up, no problem. Like a missile, boom, cool. I've always been really explosive too.
I weighed 175 pounds on the D line, and I'd get the junk minutes, game's over. All right, put Kaylee in, and I'd go get beat up by guys who are twice my size, but it was fun. All right, so let's go back to some more pro wrestling. Let's talk about this year that you're coming off of. I mean, tell me what it was like to actually get to Japan, because I mean, like we said it earlier, like, okay, so New Japan Strong opened that door for you, but obviously you had to kick something down to get there. They don't just hand out opportunities to go wrestle in Japan. That's something that you really have to earn. And
Right.
especially in Southern California, that's not an opportunity we see a lot of guys get. Like Rocky Romero's got it, TJ Perkins got it, Christopher Daniels, but I mean, that guy really, I don't call him a SoCal guy because he was everywhere, but very few people got the opportunity that you've gotten in New Japan. Tell me about wrestling in New Japan and just really getting through that barrier.
So basically, Jonah was in the G1 tournament. So when they do this G1 tournament, I think you have like 5 matches. But when you don't have tournament matches, you're in tag matches to keep you fresh, to keep you going. And at the time, I was wrestling in a tag team with Jonah out here for Strong. So the office had seen me. They had really liked what they saw. I had ran into a few office people at hotels, like for Strong, and they're like, "Oh, Tito, oh, you're doing a great job. We really like what you're doing." I was like, "Holy smokes! Like, this is pretty cool." And then, we continued to tag with Jonah, and when he got the opportunity to go to the G1, they're like, "Well, he needs a tag partner. Let's bring Tito. He fits right in. He could do this style. We really like what he's doing on Strong." So I was like, "Oh, like, hell yes!" Like, I'm super pumped. I knew there would be an opportunity for me to go to Japan. I knew that right away. As soon as they told me, like, "Hey, we want to book you in Strong," I was like, "Sweet." But in my head, I said, "Well, this could lead to a bigger opportunity. Just, play your cards right, kick ass, do your thing, and who knows what the future will hold." And just like that, I guess I kind of manifested it, and it just kind of fell into place.
That's dope, man. That's
Yeah.
really. I
Yeah.
I told you the last time I saw you at the Irvine tapings, and it was a while ago, but I was like, man, I'm so proud of you. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not.
thanks, man.
I've done nothing to help your career. I have no part in it. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
just as a bystander who's watched you go from Los Banditos to TMDK New Japan. I mean, it's amazing, dude. And I feel like 18 years. They should have jumped on you a few years earlier, but I guess, just circumstances didn't allow that to happen till
Right.
now.
Again, it's tough, man. It gets so frustrating because, like, I work hard, man. I work a lot harder than other people do. I could say that
Yeah.
without a question of a doubt. And you're just waiting. You're just waiting. Hard work pays off. Hard work pays off. I tell myself all the time. But then you start to second guess yourself, like, well, when is it going to pay off? I've been doing this. I've been going strong for 12 years, 13 years. Like, is this ever going to pay off? Like, so when it finally did, I was so happy, man. So happy. It still puts a smile on my face thinking about it.
Did you ever get to a point where you almost quit? Did you ever get to that point?
Yeah, like I would say, like, when was the Mania in Tampa? Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to guess that.
Yeah, I was like, this is it for me. I'm good. Like, I'm not getting the bookings I need. Nothing's really coming from wrestling. I'm working my ass off with nothing to show for it. Like, this is probably going to be it. And then I had a wrestler, a very good wrestler, who was like, "What? What are you talking about, dude? Like, why? Like, you're good. I wrestle all around the world, and you're a really good wrestler. Don't quit. Don't do it. Wait. Stick it out. Go another year." And so I was like, "Yeah, I'll give it a shot." And then that year, I got booked on Strong.
And my next question was going to be, who was the voice that kept you going? But if you want to keep that private, you can.
Yeah, I'll keep that private. And then, there was other times too, like maybe 10 years ago where I was only getting booked like once a month. I was like, this is bullshit. Why am I doing this? I could be doing so many other things. Or just like, it would like sporadically, like when I wasn't getting the bookings I need, or I would see big shows and I wasn't on them, and I'd be like, why am I not on them? I don't understand. I still do that to this day. I'm like, why am I not on this show? I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, I just came from this huge tour in Japan. I just wrestled Okada in England. I wrestled Suzuki at the Corkin Hall. I don't understand. Like, I put on one of the best matches of the night every night, if they give me the mic, I cut incredible promos. I'm 250 pounds. I'm freaking jacked. I don't understand. I don't. It blows my mind, and it's just weird. Like I have all the praise from my peers. They all put me over huge, but unfortunately, they're not promoters. They're not bookers, and I can't get these spots. I can't break through for some time. So it gets frustrating, but I know in the end, hard work will pay off because it always does.
You have a good support group at home.
Yeah, 100%.
That's where I think where a lot of it comes from. Like, I'm not gonna get too boastful about my wife or anything, but she's always like pushing me, like, do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not that it's anything the same as wrestling, but like a few years ago when Marquez went to China with the NWA and those guys, I was like, hey man, like you got room for one more? And he's like, go, you can buy a ticket. And I'm like, all right. And my wife was like, yeah, you should go. I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
and
cool.
I bought a ticket. It was a cool experience just to not only see that side of the world and all that, but just to see, how they interpret wrestling in China.
I wanted to go to that so bad. I got booked on the second one, but then that one never happened.
You were on the flyer. Ray's was on the flyer. I mean, like, I thought it was going to be like this awesome, like kick-ass championship wrestling from Hollywood show. I was really excited about it. And not that I'm going to, there's nothing wrong with Heather Monroe. She's great. I think she's a great wrestler too. But like I was really looking forward to seeing Ray's on that card. I was looking forward to seeing you guys on the card. Like you guys versus Reno Scum would have been. I mean, you guys always have great matches with those guys.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
Is there a tag team out there that you like wrestling on a regular basis?
Scum is one of them. I always have a really fun time wrestling Doomfly, Delilah Doom, and Eli Everfly.
Which is, again, that's, and again, I'm not saying anything negative, but they're so small.
That's probably one of the reasons I like wrestling them, because every like little thing, like I just do a punch and like people are like, oh my God. But now if I do that same punch to some guy who's 6'5", 300 pounds, it doesn't get over as well.
Right.
And then something like a falsie for them goes over huge because they're so small, and we made them work for it and finally paid off. And so I like working them. I liked working Fin Juice.
Oh yeah.
That was we had a little program, me and Jonah, with them last year in the beginning of the year that ended up in a big Chicago street fight. In Chicago was like Brody King, Finley, and Juice Robinson. That was a fun one. That's another one too, where it's like they're gonna wake you up with some of those moves they hit and some of those strikes they hit.
Brody's no joke. I mean, you know that.
Of course not. Yeah.
You've been around that guy enough to know that.
Yeah.
When I think back some of the most brutal moments I've ever seen you wrestle, and a lot of them came from AWS, especially when you wrestled my girl Ray's. Like, oh man, that I'm not a huge intergender fan, and I'm not advocating against it or anything, but like, because obviously Ray's could take care of herself, and she looked good in that match with you guys. But man, that was hard to watch at points.
She's a big girl. She could handle herself. She enjoys the pain probably as much as I do.
Yeah.
So I had no problem taking it to her at all.
I talked to her once about
during that match.
I talked to her once about she was going to do an all women's death match thing, and I'm like, "How do you prepare for that?" She goes, "Well, you just have a beer before." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, that's all right." So we're getting close to that hour, but I do want to talk to you a few more things.
Sure, man.
Like, let's be honest, man. You wrestled the ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like, let's talk about this for a second. If we're gonna translate it to the United States, that'd be you like wrestling John Cena, for crying out loud.
I know.
You wrestled Okada, and you didn't do it in Japan. You did it in the United Kingdom. Tell me about that, man. Because like that guy is not a slouch. That's not a walk in the park. I mean, he brings his working boots every time he's out there. Tell me about that experience.
He's probably the best wrestler in the world, in my opinion. Him or Ospreay, and it just depends on what you like, what style you like. But I don't think that was the most nervous I've ever been in any match ever. It might have been the most nervous I've ever been in my whole entire life. because I knew how big of an opportunity it was, and I knew how that's freaking Okada, bro. Like, he's been on top for a long, long time. So I was really excited, but also really, really nervous, and doing it in England where maybe they didn't know me, but I went in there. Same thing I told myself when I wrestled Aldis. I said, well, I'm not gonna go easy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it to him. He's just another wrestler, just like I am. He puts his boots on just like I do. Who's to say I can't beat him?
Yeah.
I'm bad Dude Tito. I have as much a chance to beat him as anybody else.
Damn right.
So I was like, well, you know what? Let's go out there. Let's take it to him. Let's see how tough he is. And by the way, he's very freaking tough. He's a tough dude.
Yeah.
As well as very talented. But yeah, that was amazing. I think I got a really great crowd reaction. As soon as I got in there, the nerves went away. As soon as we start wrestling, the nerves went away, and it was just a fight. It was just a wrestling match, and it was time to go. You do all this training, you have all these matches, and then it just prepares you for these moments. And since then, I haven't been nervous at all. Like, I tell myself, like, oh, well, I'm gonna be nervous for this match. I just wrestled Okada.
Yeah.
I should be fine.
It's like after Fight Club, all the volume gets turned down. I get it, man.
Like,
Okada,
if you're in the
Okada's
Super Bowl, you're gonna if you're in the Super Bowl, you're not gonna get nervous for freaking week 1 or preseason.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not at all, man.
Yeah.
Obviously before New Japan Strong, you were wrestling shows in Vegas, you were doing shows in Arizona. Did New Japan take you to the parts of this country that you've never wrestled before?
Oh yeah, I went to Seattle. I went to DC. I went to Philly. I wrestled the ECW arena.
That's amazing.
I wrestled Chicago. Not to mention the whole tour in Japan. I toured Japan twice, up and down. The G1's a huge tournament, so you go all over Japan, north and south. Then my second tour, we hit a bunch of other spots I've never been to, and even different parts of the city I had been to. Then England was amazing. I wish I would have been able to really check out England, but it was raining on my one free day.
Yeah.
But I did check out a couple pubs. Nice. And I got myself a proper English breakfast.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was good.
Was that like the sausage and beans and eggs?
Yeah, it wasn't the best, but
was the beer warm?
It wasn't, which I thought it would be, but it was cold. And then back to Japan. So I got to do a lot this last year. I got over big with the Japanese crowd too. Like, they're comparing me to Dr. Death.
Well, yeah.
Like, they were chanting my name in Corkin Hall. Like, that's pretty amazing,
bro.
Yeah,
bro. Look, I know you still got gas in the tank, right? You've got a couple.
I got a lot still. I'm ready to. That rejuvenated me. Like, maybe in a fight game, your health meter. Like, my health meter was going down after those tours of Japan. I'm fully healed. I'm ready to go.
And do you have a timetable when you'll be going back, or is that still?
It's kind of in the works right now. I have been told I am going back, so I look forward to that. But until then, I'm just doing stuff here and there.
You're all over SoCal, and I was trying to look up your schedule but it's like, sure, just pick a match. You pick a show that Tito might be there. Obviously, I was in Arizona. I was at the that I don't even remember what that place is called. The Mesa.
How cool was that place though?
It was cool. It was dope.
It was awesome. Yeah.
And it looks good on TV too.
Yeah, it does. I hope we go back.
How did you like wrestling in front of that Arizona crowd? That's a new crowd for you.
Yeah, I loved it. I got a lot of family out there in Arizona, so a lot of them came out to watch. That was like another place where I'm like, am I gonna get over when my music hits, And of course I don't. It's like a weird thing. If I go somewhere new, when my music hits, it's always kind of falls flat. But by the end of my match, they're like, "Oh yeah, this guy's awesome! Like, let's bring him back." So I got a great response for the finish of my match, and then I won over a bunch of fans. So that's always good.
And now you're the number one contender for the belt that Danny Limelight is holding right now. I mean, I know you're not getting that match tomorrow or even on February 7th, but you know what's the game plan for that? Are you
well, right off the bat, Danny's too small. Right away, I'll tell you that he's way too small. He's 185 pounds.
He said he said he's 195 now.
Yeah, that's what he wants the internet to know, to think. But I'm legit 250 pounds. I'm a legit pro wrestler. I could strike. I could wrestle. I'm not afraid to get crazy in there. We could get nuts. It does not matter to me. But when it comes down to it, I could take Danny's best punch over and over and over. I could take his best, and I'm just going to keep coming forward. But can he take, my best? I don't think he can. He might not even be able to take my second best. You know what I mean?
Well, he's got to get through Clark Connors before he even gets to you. That match takes place.
That's true. Yeah.
On February 7th. Are you gonna be there?
Clark ain't no slouch. Yeah, I will be there. I don't know what I'll be doing yet, but I will be there.
Full circle. My whole family's gonna be there for the first time in a very long time. But the little ones, they saw you in Mesa. They loved it.
Cool.
My oldest is she's gonna be there. My wife will be there. It's gonna be like a homecoming for us because we used to go to the Hollywood shows all the time back when it was in the Showcase Theater and even before then when it was in Anaheim, or not Anaheim but Orange at the Galaxy.
That's the one place I didn't go to.
You just missed it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So were you?
And it wasn't that great. You had to pay for food. It wasn't good food. It sucked.
You don't have to pay for food at the Improv?
It's better food.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about the Galaxy Theater is that they used to that's where UPW used to film too.
Yeah,
so
I remember.
Like I have great memories of being there and seeing guys like Christopher Daniels and having like RVD versus Christopher Daniels or Samoa Joe versus like Tommy Dreamer. I mean, it was just crazy matches that they would have back then.
Oh yeah, I went to a couple of those shows because those were on the same time I was starting to train. I remember seeing like Ken Shamrock there.
Yeah.
And then like they did an angle with like Shamrock won his match, and then like Tank Abbott came for like in the crowd. I was like, "Is this real?" Like I'm a kid. I'm 15. I'm like, "Is this real? What's going on? This is crazy." That
was the one that was at the venue right by Angel Stadium, and that's when they had like the Legion of Doom wrestled like Adam Pearce and who else? Adam Pearce and like Hardcore Kid, I think it was.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't even remember that.
Rey Mysterio was there, but he didn't wrestle. He was just there. Ray and Chavo were there in the audience, but they didn't wrestle. They were doing photo ops and stuff. And
wow.
And Hall and Nash were there. I mean, it was a big show for them.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Good times. Yeah. I'd ask you to stay for an hour. You've been so kind to give me that hour, but I'm going to ask for a few more minutes just because I want to touch.
Let's do it.
We're coming up, WrestleMania weekend's going to be in our backyard in Los Angeles, California.
Mm-hmm.
In I think the whole, caravan's coming to town with GCW.
Right.
What matches are you going to be booked for that weekend? Do you know?
So right now, the only thing I have penciled in is the Santino show at the Collective. It's the first show of the weekend for the Collective. I have 2 other shows in the works, but they're not cemented in, so I don't really want to like say I'm doing them. Because with my luck, I'll be like, "Hey, I'll be here," and then not get booked for it. But there's a couple more shows I'll be on, hopefully, and then we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
There's a real bloody one that I think you would be a great sport for it. So I'm hoping that one happens.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that one too. We'll see what happens. I've been on the last 7 of those blood sports. So, I like doing those because they're different type of wrestling.
Yeah.
And I get to showcase my grappling because I do have some grappling. And hopefully I get booked for that. Josh, I'm here, brother. I'm here if you need me.
I would love to tell you that Josh is watching us right now, but I guarantee you he's not. Epic Pro Wrestling, our good friend Andrew Pacina's putting that show on, and that's coming up at the end of the month. What are your thoughts on working for True Fan, man? I mean, he went from a fan, literally, and he said, "Hey, I could do this better," and everyone said, "No, you can't." So he finally put his money where his mouth is, and he's doing it. He's got a show on Fight, man. They're gonna do the pay-per-view on Fight.
Yeah, that's cool. Unfortunately, me and Shay had to pull out of that show, so we won't be there.
Never mind.
But I wish all the luck to him and the crew. Hopefully they have a killer show.
No hard feelings, right?
No, not at all. I just have a big opportunity coming up, so I had to take that off.
I've heard there's a lot of rumors on the internet. People are sending you stuff with Blue Demon and El Santo. What is all this stuff, man? I tried to put my head around it. I don't get it.
It was weird. I guess some dudes, some luchadors debuted on Dark, and I guess they have a similar look to me and Che, so everyone kept sending it to me. I'm like, this isn't us, guys. Like, I could see the resemblance for sure, but that's not us. Stop sending me this.
I'm just saying, man, I think those guys are racist because they're just saying because you're Mexican American that you're the luchador. Come on now.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, who knows? But I mean, they looked jacked, so that's good.
Well, look, AEW has a great way of scouting out talent, and anybody that they use on their programming have to be, world-class athletes. They don't just put slobs up there. I mean, they really put some of the best talent in the world, and I think anyone should be, grateful for that opportunity. But furthermore, it just exemplifies how good of a wrestler they are, that they're getting looked at by Tony Khan and AEW, and maybe even Ring of Honor at some point. These are promotions that are, based on work rate, and if they're looking at you and they're putting those kind of wrestlers on that show, I think that's a tip of the hat, saying that those are really talented individuals.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they have a bright future, Blanco and Negro. So props to them. I hope they succeed in this business. I wish no ill will on any wrestler in this business. So hopefully they continue the success they're having.
So what you're saying is you wish them the best in their future endeavors?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, hey, you know what, man, Tito, first of all, I'm grateful that you took time to be on today. I know I've been wanting to do this with you for a while, and I appreciate you being patient with me. And
yeah, no problem, man.
Finally getting it going on. I really do want to say from the bottom of my heart that I'm very proud of where you've come from and where you're at now, dude. It's just amazing, and I mean that in the utmost respectful way. I really think I think 2022 was a banner year for you, but I'm hoping 2023 just kicks the door down. There's that open weight title, there's tag titles, there's the United Wrestling Network title, United Wrestling Network tag titles. I mean, there's so much golden opportunity. I hope that you're given those opportunities that keep coming to you because you deserve them. You worked for them.
Thanks, bro. I think 2023 is going to be big. We ain't stopping. We ain't slowing down. All gas, no brakes. 2022 was just a start. We're going to continue the momentum. I ain't done. I'm not done I got a lot of tread on these tires. Definitely. So I've always enjoyed working with you, J. Cal. I've always enjoyed talking to you. So doing this interview with you was like a no-brainer, of course.
We're going to touch base again later in the year so we can brag about all the stuff that you got done.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
All right, man. Well, that's going to do it for us, guys. Thanks for everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. I'm just trying to look for the close video. That's all. At the matches. Thanks for checking out the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA Power every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we are the Alliance.